This is a quick look at the Brother BY07, or if you know anything about spectacles and bird line models, the crossbill, which this is pretty much the same thing. This was purchased from GearBest, and it's a full stainless steel lockback knife with a common hole deployment. It's very wide, which I'll mention right off the bat, as you can tell, compared to something more regular. I'll show later. And yeah, so if you're trying to put this in your pocket and you have very thin pockets, narrow width-wise, this might be problematic, or if you have a lot of other things in the pocket. But it's very thin, which is nice. I prefer that. And it's really attractive knife if you like karambits, which this is. As you can see here, it's a karambit style blade with a very aggressive drop there, so whatever you're cutting into really digs in deep. It's not a very utilitarian shape though for everyday task. If you wanted to prep, pardon me, trying to cut some apples or tomatoes or cut up some chicken or something like that, it's not very easy to cut, because all you're going to be cutting with is a tip pretty much as you're pulling through whatever you're cutting. And you will rarely ever use this. This is good for, I guess, if you're cutting rope or any kind of cordage, you kind of draw through it. But for most regular tasks, it's not that useful. It's good for opening boxes though, or getting into packages with the tip. I can tell you probably right now that if you use this knife, all the wear most of the time will be right there at the tip, if you're a box opener primarily. This has a lot of the second kind of cool, as nutnfancy would call it for me. Just looks cool, not very utilitarian though for my purposes. I got it simply because I don't own any karambit style knives, and this one was available at the right price. So this knife, when open, has a very nice ergonomic grip, has a relatively shallow finger choil there and there for your pointer and middle fingers. Then the rest of your fingers land back there. I have small size hands for comparison, and I still have a bit left at the end here, so for those with larger hands, this knife will still be good. Even small hands like myself, it's pretty comfortable. There's no jimping up top. It's smooth. This is a stainless steel handled knife, so the entire thing is smooth. So if you're using it in wet conditions or cold climates or hot climates, that will all affect the use. This knife is nicely chamfered around the outside edges, so it's comfortable in that aspect. But on the inner edges, it's quite sharp. It's I could file my fingernail when I'm pulling my fingernail across. You can see the filings there. And I just cut off a bit there. So yeah, it's very sharp on the inside. Just something of note, over prolonged use, if your hands slide around, which they likely will since it's a full stainless steel knife, you might get some minor scrapes on the fingers as it slides on the inner edges of the handle. There are cutouts here which are more just for looks than anything. They provide a little bit of grip if your fingers land on them. For me personally, my fingers land at the top part, so it doesn't do anything for me really. It's a lockback, as I mentioned earlier. There's no blade play up, down, left or right. It's very solid. And speaking of the lockback and the blade play, this has a relatively weak detent. So it might shake open in your pocket. It's I could shake this knife open, not on camera right now, but I could shake it open without using the comet hole, just by flicking the knife hard. So that's another thing to note. This knife does not have a particularly strong detent, so it may possibly, I still doubt it, open in the pocket with carry, or if it's jarred around in a pack of some sort. Just something to note. Pocket clip is only tip down right hand, or tip up right hand carry, tip down right hand carry, and it is also on the this is tip up or tip down right hand carry, not for left hand carry is what I meant to say. And pocket clip is pretty tight, and it's gonna hold in the pocket well, and it slides in relatively easily as it's a stainless steel handle. You won't chew up your pockets. There's no hot spots with pocket clip in use when you're opening it and holding it. It doesn't stick out enough to bother the palm of your hand, so I've had no problems with it. So this knife is pretty decent for the amount of money. It's heavy though. If you want to know the weight and the other specifications, look in the description box. I will now show this knife next to its brother, literally. Brother, this one is the Brother Midlock folder, as Brother calls it, which for most Spyderco and Bird fans will know this as the Cara, the first variety before they came out the full flat ground versions. This is made by Brother, as well as this. Just compare the blade shapes. You can see much more useful utilitarian blade shape here with the sweeping edge here for slicing through a variety of everyday things, whereas this is very task specific and not as broad in use. This has jimping, this is not. This blade is tapered at the end with a wedge at the top, unsharpened. The handles, as you can see, overall this is a shorter knife. The blade is shorter as well. Has a lanyard hole, which I forgot to mention. And yeah, nice knife. Nice to add to the collection. I honestly can't see myself carrying this one very much simply because of the blade shape, but it's not going to be left out. I will play with this. And that is it. Thanks for watching. Until next time.